Hey everyone, welcome to this episode of the Sarah's Podcast. In this episode, we talk to Marc and Jacques Verite from Bistrot Vérité in Birkdale, a suburb of Southport. Marc is the owner and Jacques is the head chef. Birkdale is a very affluent part of Southport, but don't let that fool you. Marc and Jacques are working at the top of their game to offer great value to keep customers coming back. They really do stick to the trueness of what a bistro is. It's small, it's loud, it's just perfect. It's just the way you expect it to be. You'd almost think you're in a little part of France. I really enjoyed chatting to Marc and Jacques. They are both chefs. Many people that I spoke to beforehand have the highest respect for them, as do I. Giovanna Grossi and Benico Zeniu couldn't speak highly enough of Marc and Jacques. So it was really exciting to finally sit down and talk to these two. For those of you that don't know about the Sarah's Podcast and who pays for the podcast bills, then head over to worldofsarahs.com. We're always putting up new content. We've just uploaded our question time feature with Danny Coomey from the Ridgeway in St Albans, and we've also just updated articles with Greg Howard and John Molnar. We are uploading episodes at a slightly different schedule at the moment. Usually it's every week. At the moment we've just spaced them out a little bit up until episode 50. If you could do us a favour and leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, and if you have any friends in the hospitality industry, be sure to tell them about the Sarah's Podcast. Sorry about all the chat. Off we go with this episode with Marc and Jacques. Marc, Jacques, welcome to the Sarah's Podcast.
Thank you, nice to be here.
Yeah, thanks for asking us to do it.
No, well, thanks for having me here and thanks for doing it. It's a lovely restaurant in the heart of Birkdale, which is near Southport. So for those of you that don't know, you are Marc, chef proprietor of Bistrot Vérité in Birkdale, and Jacques, you are the head chef, and also blessed to be Marc's son.
Yeah.
But no nepotism here. You've worked your way up, and no favours, is there, Marc?
Oh, not at all. No, he's got to where he is through hard work. Trust me.
He has to work harder, doesn't he?
Yeah.
So Marc, you started you trained as a classically trained chef, but you started working in your dad's sort of patisserie back in the day. So give us a little bit about how you started.
Yeah. So my dad was a French patissier in Southport. He came over from France in the early 60s. So, quick story. Basically, he came over in the early 60s, went to work in Southport town centre, wanted to come and learn the language, wanted to be around where the Beatles were. So, he was working for a guy in Paris, and he sent him over to Southport to work in Mellors, which was a bakery in the town centre. Long story short, he met my mum. They got married. He ended up staying in Southport, and then they were selling Mellors in about 1976. And there was a little place in Churchtown Village called that was part of the Mellors chain, and my dad basically took it over. It's a little cottage right in the bank centre of the village. And then he put a baking oven in there, and he just started making bread. And then his business grew, and he ended up starting cakes, and then started doing outside catering, and it grew from there. But it was only a small shop, but it was very, very popular in the town. Obviously, I grew up from there. The school was around the corner. I used to go and help him and go and see him in the afternoons, jump in there, helping him, making cakes, making pastries, just being around him because I was that's what I did. So just so I could be with him.
Was he doing like French bakery or both, or English?
No, he basically was mostly all French. It was all, loads of cream cakes for millefeuilles. All the breads were all made. They had baguettes. Everything was made. And obviously, my sisters were there. Both sisters were there as well. and stuff like that. So that's how I got into it, just by being there and helping him and being involved in food. And I thought that's what I enjoyed doing. I used to go to school, to high school, and then come back in the afternoons, go and give him a hand then. Because we were from we divorced in the late 70s, so the only time I could go and see my dad was when he was working, basically. Yeah. So that's how he worked. So he was always at work. If I want to go and see him, I go and give him a hand, and that was how it was.
So it wasn't like free time. You never got to go to the cinema with him or anything.
No, none of that. No, I think the only time we ever really went down to his house was at Christmas time. So that was always on a Boxing Day. But yeah, so that was how I introduced him. And he started doing like meals at night time, so people could bring their own wine. He had a little cafe upstairs, and in the cafe at night time, basically someone would just take the whole place over. So they just order the food, pre-order the food. Again, a lot of classic French stuff on there. There was beef bourguignon, coquille Jean-Jacques, stuff like that. There was snails on there was frog's legs on there, and we used to basically get everything prepared. I'd go in there and give them a hand in the evening time, and I really, really enjoyed that. And that's really why I wanted to become a chef and not the other side, the confectionery and patisserie side. So that's how I got into it, really, and then I left.
Were people receptive to that sort of food?
Yeah, I think in the early 70s or the 70s, that's the kind of food you were getting served anyway around. I look back at lots of old menus in the 70s, and it was all very classically French. In the best restaurants were all classically French. It was all Soul Bon Femme. There'd be about 5 or 6 soul dishes on the menu in quite good restaurant, fine dining restaurants in the 70s. Obviously, things changed in the early 80s, and the Nouvelle cuisine came into being and stuff like that. But I'd left school when I was 16, so I went straight to Southport College for 2 years, and again I was taught all the classics. Everything was geared around the 706-1, 706-2, and we were taught all the different interpretations of food. We were taught.
That's all right. What were you sort of taught then?
Yeah, so it was all. I was classically trained, so everything was done with a French accent. Everything was. Du Barry was cauliflower soup, and it was all geared to being taught the French classical ways of cookery. So you make a hollandaise sauce. You learn all the derivatives. These are all things that we don't see much nowadays, but at the time that was how we were taught, and you'd finish a 2-year course and you've learned your basics on French cookery, how to make mayonnaise, hollandaise, how to make a Espanol sauce, for example, and that's where I started. That's how I.
Do you think after doing the course and obviously still working for your dad at this point, I guess, do you think he was probably expecting you to sort of stay there?
No, he knew from 15 that I wanted to be a chef and not be a baker. Luckily, my elder sister Nicole was working alongside him, and that's what she was doing. She really enjoyed working, being a confectioner, but it wasn't really what I wanted to do. I really enjoyed the cookery side of it, and yeah, he knew from I think for my 16th Christmas present I got a set of knives and a pair of white clogs, so just before I started college. So that was my Christmas present at the time. So that's what I wanted to do, and luckily I went into that, and I had 2 great years at Southport College. I was working with a great bunch of lads who were all pushing and trying to be better than one another. Marcus Waring was actually at Southport College at the same time as me, so...
was he older, younger?
No, we both went to the same school together. We went through junior school and high school.
And he had a brother as well.
Yeah, he had a brother, Brian, as well. He was also a chef. So we were friendly at college, me and Marcus. But he was very, very determined. His head was down. He must have left school and he got into catering, and he was tunnel vision. Whereas I was a little bit more of a laugh and trying just to enjoy what we were doing. I didn't take myself very seriously at the time. I just wanted to get in there and have a laugh and enjoy being in the kitchen, which we did. But we also had this against each other,
like a friendly competitiveness.
Yeah. But there was about 4 of us all who were all really competitive. And every Thursday we had to do a sweet trolley for the restaurant. So they'd move the kitchen round on every week, and so 1 week you'd be on sauce, 1 week you're on veg, 1 week you're on starters, on the garde manger, but then 1 week you'd be on the sweets. So you'd always try and outdo. So whoever's on the sweets tried to do the best sweet trolley, and luckily I was from my dad's side of it, so my dad would always give me some inspiration of I used to do like mille-feuilles, and I did a croque-en-bouche one time. So these are all things that they wouldn't have bothered thinking about, because obviously the background I had, that's what I wanted to do. But so I had 2 great years at Southport College.
Where did you go after that?
And after that I got a job working in a restaurant in the grounds of Woburn Abbey in Bedfordshire. So there was a restaurant called Paris House. It was owned by an ex Roux Brother trained chef called Peter Chandler. And I went to work there. I think I started there in September, but unfortunately I didn't last that long there. I came back to Southport probably by the end of, I think it was just halfway through December. I found it very, very hard. I found that the work was hard. I was a young lad. I was missing home. I was missing my mates. I was missing my mum. And I was just, I think I just turned 18. So, and for some reason I just said I couldn't handle it, and I felt intimidated. He was a shouty chef, and I look back when I was at college, you put on a bit of a pedestal, and you're going to do really well, and then you go and work in a real kitchen, and it's wake up call time, and when you are in, you go maybe it's not like this nowadays, but when you go in as a junior, then you felt like you were a junior, you were put on, you were rib taking, everything else, and maybe at the time I felt too young, and looking back now, I probably was a bit too young to go down, but some people can do it, some people can't. At the time I couldn't, so I ended up coming back to Southport and then going back to work for my dad, because it was probably the easy option at the time. So then I spent 2 years with my dad. Then my mum had a good chat with me, and she said, "Listen, get your finger out. You were trained to be a chef." So she said, "I think you should start looking somewhere else." And luckily, I put my CV in at Northcote, where Nigel Howarth was working. Obviously, he was the head chef there, and they were looking for someone. And I went down, did a trial. Felt very nervous. I remember the first time being in that kitchen. Alongside Nigel, big tall fella, but towering over me, but very gentle man. Didn't intimidate me at all. Was very, very nurturing, and I stayed there for 2 years with Nigel, and I ended up working. Ended be chef de partie on the garde manger, and I loved every minute of it. And then I just wanted to move and look for something else. So I ended up wanting to go to France, where I've got quite a few relatives. And so that's what I did. I went to the area where my auntie lives, in the Dordogne area of France. She had a little tobacco shop where she lived above it, and I ended up going over there, driving over there in the summer of, I don't know, 91 or something, and spending the summer with my auntie, but also working for various charcuteries. I worked in a couple of patisseries. I worked in a couple of boucheries. I worked in an outside caterer they call them traiteurs over there. So I did quite a few events in like castles and things like that. So just to get an eye of what was going on. Really enjoyed that. I did that for the summer. And then I got the opportunity to go and work in a restaurant, which I found in a small village just outside Bergerac called Tremola. There's a restaurant there called Le Vieux Logis, which is in the Relais Chateau Hotel. And I got a job working there, and I ended up working there for about a year. Again, the whole reason for me going over there is I wanted to learn the language, because my father was French and my mum and dad were split up. So I thought, if things do one day happen with my parents, I need to be able to communicate with the French. So, and that's what I did. I did that for 2 years, and then ended up coming back to England. Went back to Northcote, just for a short amount of time, which it's like anything, you should never really go back to where you've worked before, which I did, and I didn't particularly enjoy that second spell time. But a lot of respect for Nigel, what he's achieved there over the years. It's a fantastic hotel, fantastic food. He's a great cook, and he taught me a lot of things in respect of how to talk to people, and you don't need to shout and be a bully and other things that maybe my first tenure of in a restaurant was like. A very calming man, and I learnt a lot of him, but I needed to do something for myself or to spread my wings. I was only young, but I think sometimes when you're 23, you think you if you feel like you can have a go on your own and do something. So I got a job working back in Southport, which was a little place called the Café Matisse. And it was basically a daytime operation, so I could have night times off. I could do things with friends. I thought, this is great, and I worked there for just under a year. But that's where I met Michaela. So my wife, and we met there. We started dating. We could go out at night times. We were enjoying ourselves. But I knew deep down in my heart that I needed to get back into a kitchen. And luckily for me, Michaela had some contacts in Belgium. A friend of her dad's was a manager of a casino on the seafront in Middlekirk. So I got an interview, went over, did a trial. I got a job as sous chef in a casino in Blankenberg, it was, which is just up the coast from Ostend. And Michaela got a job working front of house in one of the restaurants in the Middlekirk casino. The Middlekirk casino had a Michelin star. In the Blankenberg one, it was again fine dining, but not quite in the same league. But it's a different scenario over in Belgium. It was like they'd all sit at the same time. They'd come in, you'd serve them all at the same time.
Oh, really? Okay.
In where I was working, didn't really learn that much, to be fair, culinary wise. But I enjoyed the time out there again. I was working with some good chefs. Some old school chefs, really old school. He was the guy who was the head chef. He was, he taught me a few Belgian dishes. We used to do like a braised rabbit. I always remember, cooked in creek beer, which was a great little dish. So enjoyed the time over there, but again, it wasn't the best time for us both. We both decided to come home after about just under a year, I think it was. And then I got a job we came back to Southport, we got a flat together, and I went to work in a place in Wigan called Kelly Court. I did 2 years there as senior sous chef, enjoyed my time there, and then Michaela, then we fell pregnant with this young man here. So that was 1995.
So it's his fault.
So it's all his fault. And then that's when life does change, as we all well know. So we were living in a flat just around the corner here from the restaurant, actually, on Liverpool Road. We then decided, well, I either stay working in Wigan or try and get a job closer to Southport, so I'll put my CV out there. Anyway, a friend of mine was becoming the head chef of this new restaurant in Southport called The Warehouse, and this was he wasn't bringing me along because I was staying at Kelly Court, but he told me about it. I came down, got chatting with him, spoke to the owner, ended up going to work there. It was like the people used to call it the Quaglinos of the North, I think, at the time. But it was a great ideas by the guy who come up with the idea. Paul Adams, his name was. So I worked for Paul for 13 years, and we grew together, I think, as in our job. The head chef didn't last that long with Paul, so I then got sat down by Paul and saying, "Would you like to take it over?" He said, "I know your dad, have a word with your dad." So I spoke to my dad. He said, "Mark, get your finger out. You're 26 now. You've got a young kid on the way. You can do this. So, and the rest is history. So I was there for 13 years, loved every minute of it, worked with a great team of people. Paul was very inspirational. He was always eating out around the world in different countries. So he'd always come back with some new ideas and always push you to do some different foods. And the food was based on international food. So it was just great to be a part of it for such a long time. And then after that, I think during the time there, I thought, well, one day I've got to open my own restaurant. And obviously, I've got the background of working with my dad, working in France. And my passion is French cuisine anyway. And I love still making a good bourguignon. I love making classic French dishes. So we sat down just before I was about 38. I said to Michaela, we had 3 boys by then, and we decided it's now or never. So we started looking for property, and putting letters through restaurants around the town. And eventually I got a phone call off a little Chinese man who rang me up and said, do you want to chat? So we came down to where we are now. That was nearly 11 years ago. I think Jack was 14 at the time. The other 2 was 11 and 6, or I think he was about 5 or 6, Louis. And here we are. We've been here 10, 11 years.
So one thing I was sort of wondering, whilst you're saying all this, is that, Jacques, same sort of thing, really. You've come through a family business.
Yeah.
Did you have the same sort of thoughts coming into it? Did you ever see yourself doing anything else, or did you?
Well, not really. When my dad used to work at the warehouse, on the weekends I'd be in the kitchen helping him out. If it was like prepping mussels or chopping mushrooms, anything. You know what I mean? This is when I was like 9, 10, 11. I just enjoyed the work, really.
He had his own little apron as well.
I enjoyed it, and I always did. I've always enjoyed, even from a young age, if it's helping out in the kitchen at home. Even though we rarely cooked really back in at home, But you know what I mean. But I enjoyed everything really about it. And then obviously you went through school, realised I'm not very academic. Didn't take on well to classroom work. Didn't enjoy it. I used to practical. I'm practical wise. I'm quite good at. Dyslexia never really helped me, with sitting down in classrooms and stuff like that. So, and then it comes to the options in year 9. It's like, right, okay, what am I going to do myself? I don't want to sit there and take history and geography, and so they're like, right, may as well give this a go. You know what I mean? But Dad I'm not going to sugarcoat it, but he was always don't be a chef, be a chef. The hours, don't do it. He's on it. He put it down so much. You'll hate the hours. Your social. You have no social life. You'll find it hard to meet a girl. He played it down big time, and I just still ignored him and just cracked on because I enjoyed it really.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. I mean, I look back now and I think, well, you like my father, you're actually born into it. It's in you.
Yeah,
it's something that it gets hold of you, I think.
Because you sort of love it, you don't sort of think about
it's work.
Yeah,
that's it. Yeah.
Losing time. You don't think about, I could be out with my mates tonight, or I could be on.
When I was younger, because I did the whole high school thing. Luckily, at school I managed to part of my options was go to college 2 days a week, which then I come out with MVQ when I was 16, MVQ level 2, 16 hospitality. Got that. Then I came to the restaurant in the doing an apprenticeship. And again, that's like, Jack, you still got time. You can go do something else at college. You sure you don't want to do this?
I know.
And he's like, honestly, even
I feel like I'm putting it down the industry, and I'm not. It's just that because I've been there myself.
Do you not think it's because every father or mother wants better for the next generation in some respects?
Yeah, I do. And now I see him in it, and I see him enjoying it, and I see how much he loves it, and the passion he's got for it. Because the passion comes later,
Once it comes with confidence, almost. Doesn't it?
Of course it is, and it's
knowledge as well.
Knowledge and
there's an abundance of confidence, isn't there? Not with you. I mean, in general, the knowledge needs to match the confidence.
Yeah. There's nothing worse than a cocky poor chef. He just thinks he's. Yeah,
the dog's
Tom
nuts.
Dick.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But also, do you appreciate the fact that he's come in on his own terms? You didn't force him into it.
Oh yeah. No, listen, I've always said. I mean, like I said, like he was just saying then exactly what I said to him when he was like 10, 11, 12, 13, whatever it was. I even look back to when he was 13, 14. He was sending letters to Rogan, Simon Rogan, to go and work along Clume. He went to the my Wakat says on. He did a
so
week stage there.
Yeah.
Just 16. So he was wanting to do it.
Yeah, so
I did a cookery competition as well, actually.
Oh, you did, yeah.
Yeah.
You did really well.
Oh, I did all right. It was called Britain's Best Dish. I think I was 14 at the time. Britain's Best Dish. I told me Nan to enter it. She's like, no, you enter it. So I did it just in the back of her. I'll give it a go. Anyway, I think I came tops. I won the Northwest Heat for best dessert. I just did like an apple tart.
Yeah.
Butterscotch sauce, vanilla ice cream. Just dead simple. And I came the top 7.
Yeah. Still got the footage on our Skybox.
Yeah. Oh, like honestly, looking back, it's so embarrassing. Like, voice hadn't broke, spots on my face. Yeah. But yeah, so you know what I mean. So even from a young age,
he wasn't 14.
So even from a younger age, I was into it,
Yeah.
and I just never saw anything else really.
I suppose you didn't see yourself doing anything different then.
No, I didn't. No,
that's fine.
I didn't know, to be honest.
But at least I suppose your dad covered his arse by saying, "Look, you tried to cut you off. You didn't."
Yeah, even though I went away and I come back now, he never forced me. He doesn't force. He always says, if you want to leave, honestly, just do what you want. So I've never been forced.
Where else did you sort of do your training, your stints? Like?
So I came. So I did a year when I was 16, 17. Did an apprenticeship here. Again, just on absolutely minimum money. Just did it because I enjoyed it.
Did they actually pay you?
Wasn't much. I think it was £120 a week, but you know what I mean. Like for 50 hours work at 16. Anyway, so
wasn't paying his way though, was he?
Yeah, that's it. So I did a year here, and then looking back, I wanted to get out. I wanted to get out and just work at different places. But 17, which I looking back really young at the time, I thought I'd be fine. Went to work at the Chester Grosvenor Hotel, which I did just over a year there. Great place to work. It's a large hotel, big function rooms. I had 2 restaurants. I had the La Braderie, which I used to work. They had a Simon Radley even at the Chester Grove. Had a 1 Michelin starred kitchen or restaurant, but the kitchen was all the same kitchen. So as a 17-year-old, you were watching like, and then you can sort of. I always wanted to work in the 1 star. I always wanted to work Michelin, but then I realised when I was there watching them do it, they'd do 20 covers on like a night time, and they'll all be running around and they're all tweezer work. And at a young age, at 17, you see pictures and stuff, and like this is what I fancy doing, like using tweezers. But it just didn't click with me at all. So I stayed in the brasserie and worked around there, worked in the pastry area, and just learnt loads. Really,
did you work in the bakery as well?
I did a bit of the bakery, yeah. So it was a great place to work and learn, and like functions upstairs, how to organise things. It was awesome. Like looking back, it was a hotel. Everyone was always up for having a bit of a laugh. They
looked after you and nurtured you.
Looked after. Yeah. I was 17, went in as demi chef de partie, basically doing a chef de partie role, and those lads are older than me on apprenticeship schemes there. So they have a scheme at the Grosvenor where they have an apprenticeship scheme. So I think there's always like 5 or 6 people as an apprenticeship in the kitchen. So I went in there like straight from here as a chef, like demi chef de partie, teaching people who are like 5 years older than me how to do things. It was a bit odd at the time, but you sort of learn to do it now.
Do you feel like that, the both of you actually, in some ways, that the fact that you both came through sort of businesses or family businesses that were handling food, do you find that gave you a lot more confidence and knowledge when it came to your training?
I do, yeah. I think that I've been very lucky because I came through. I always found it. I never wanted to work in the big hotels and I've worked in a couple. You just feel like you're a number in a payroll.
Yeah.
But when you're working for somebody, you feel a lot more loved, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, it's like I know what you mean.
No, I think more appreciated.
Yeah, because you do. Like I remember work at the Grosvenor. You're doing all the hours, and everyone's you're just a number on a street. I think there was like 20, 30 chefs in the kitchen there.
Yeah.
Overall section. So and then you go and work somewhere. So after that, I went and worked at the Trumpet, where again you've gone back to 5 or 6 chefs in a busy kitchen.
And I think I always find that with young chefs, is trying to find someone who can mentor, like Nigel mentored me, if you like. Not me, like Rob from the Trumpet. He mentored you, or Ollie, or whoever was with you, the lads you were working with there. I think it's important you like that. That's what I mean with the family business. A similar thing. You're more appreciated if you're working alongside someone who's actually got something to do with the business itself.
But in some ways, what I was getting at is that because you guys had chopped veg and handled food and worked in a kitchen, even if it was with your dad and another team, by the time you get to college or whatever, you sort of probably are a little bit more advanced than most.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
And
I get that.
at least confidence and knowledge wise.
Yeah, sure.
So if we jump forward to like sort of today, what is it like having a restaurant in Birkdale Village? Because you were probably one of the early ones in Birkdale, weren't you?
Yeah, I think
Well, there was restaurants already here, but they've soon closed and turned into supermarkets. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like, I think 10 years.
So 10 years ago in the village, this was originally well, first of all, it was a fish shop. Then it ended up becoming a French restaurant in the 70s, and I think in the 80s it was a Chinese. I think it carried on being a Chinese until we bought it. And there was a couple of sports bars, there was a couple of pubs, but now it seems to have the whole village has evolved, and there's an Italian, there's us, there's quite a few small brewers.
Like independent bottle shops.
Bottle shops. There's a couple of big bars. There's another Indian restaurant. So the village has grown, or it seems to be like a little hub now. On a weekend, there's a lot more people moving around and going for a drink, going for some food. And I think the culture, and I think that's the culture anywhere now. That you'll find that people are eating a lot more. So, and I think we've just hit a niche here in this area, which is great. We're right by the train track, so people can come from Formby, they can come from Liverpool if they want, So there's it's a good little area to be able to just jump on and jump off as well.
So, look, I think it's fair to say that it's probably a middle to higher class area, well-to-do area, isn't it? Birkdale, would you say?
I'd say so.
What considerations do you have to take into, like, for example, finding front of house staff? Is it easy to find staff? Or, getting repeat customers? You've got a lot of competition locally. What are some of the things that you guys have to consider that many other restaurants wouldn't even think of?
I think that the whole thing it needs to be quality. You've got to serve quality food, and be consistent. Consistency is the main. Like any restaurant, if you've got to be consistent. The pricing again. I mean, we have a lunchtime offering, which is a little bit cheaper than the evening time. There's a lot, because this is like a retirement town as well. There's a lot of older people, obviously, so they come in the lunch times. It's their main meal of the day, and then they go home and do what they're doing. So we have to. The menu I try and work around.
Yeah, our clientele at lunchtime is different to our client. Day's different to our night time.
So a little bit older in the day, in the lunchtime.
Older. Yeah. So we've got to give them value for money. Yeah,
value for money, and also you've got to give them what the kind of food they want to eat. I wouldn't be doing.
We don't try. You got to cook for your audience.
Yeah,
and then there's places like in Southport that they do good food, really good food, but is it quite right for Southport? Maybe not. You know what I mean? So you've got to give variety as well, big time.
I think because I've been in this town a long time now, and I think people trust what we do. I'd say that's a trust thing on it, and I think that hopefully when they come in here, they'll know they'll get a good meal, and I think that's people say they'll go into that's where we're at. I think, and it's not we're not fine dining, we're bistro, but we're also we've evolved from being when we first opened to blackboards on the wall changing every day, to menus still getting changed every day, but being a bit more eclectic, a bit more international. Doing different foods, coming up with different ideas, as opposed to
giving people variety.
When I first opened the restaurant, I wanted it to become just a French, classic French bistro. You ever changing menu, what was good on the day, and which we still do. We still work on that ethos, but we don't have the blackboards anymore, because it used to be me, you had to write them all the time, and I got sick of it. It'd take it like 15 minutes, 20 minutes out of my day just to go and do the boards. So now I just do it on the computer, and we change the menus most days, and it gives a great variety to customers who come in regularly. And I think we were working on, it's probably about 75% of customers are regulars.
Wow, that's good.
So we do get a lot of repeat trade from customers who live locally, so that's brilliant. But which is totally different to say London. London, you're probably the other way around. It's 75% walking.
Yeah.
People who are never going to go back there again, are they? So, and we're lucky on the front of house side of it, like you were just asking then. I've got 2 great guys who've been with us a long time, and they're familiar faces. You know, people know. We know what the customers want. Some customers come in here, they just want something simple, and we know what they want. As soon as they walk through the door, they want to be in and out. We have, you know, so we're very lucky, and we do get a lot of repeat business through that.
So, when you first opened, did it take time to get it right, or was it sort of like you knew what you were doing straight away?
So,
have you finessed the idea over the years, or?
We're constantly trying to think of different things to do on the menu side. The restaurant is what it is. It's a small, close tables restaurant, very similar to when we were looking into doing this. We were lucky. We went to Paris for a few days, me and my wife, and we went to about 3 or 4 bistros. And along one side of where the banquet seating is, all the small tables are all just together, so you just be sat right next to someone like we're sat now together. And then what they used to do is pull the table out and you go and sit in. And I just said to Michael, you would never get away with that in Southport. And to be fair, we don't. We are very close.
Yeah.
But you know, that is what I wanted to achieve. I think because I'd worked in France and worked and eaten a lot of bistros in France. I just love that conviviality that you're next to someone, you're chatting to someone, or you know.
But some people really like that. But then some people
don't. You know?
I suppose lots of people come out for different reasons, don't they?
Yeah.
So some people come out to have a one-to-one with their missus. Some people come out for a business meeting. Some probably want a bit more privacy.
Yeah.
I don't know. I suppose you've got to sort of like you've got to give everybody what they sort of want, don't you? In some ways, you know.
Yeah.
Well, you know, Jacques, what do you think sort of is like if we look at the future of like, you know, either independent bistro type restaurants, what do you think the future is? You know, your dad knows sort of about the past, but the future is sort of like, where do you think it
the
is?
dinosaur.
I think it's going to just carry on the way it's going. Really, obviously, I think people do eat out a lot. It's not, even if it's not eating sitting down, it's food on the go. Like you've got your little sushi bars, and you go to London and Petit a Manger. They're absolutely everywhere. So people will spend money on food. And I think I think what it is that people do like at the moment, and it's quite popular, is independent restaurants. Like, I wouldn't say family run, but independently run. I think Gary Usher's probably smashing it more than anyone at the moment with these. I know it's not a chain, but they're individually run. They're not. Every menu's different. It's not like Café Rouge where you'll go to the Café Rouge and everyone's around the same. Obviously, that JB Oliver's as well. That's they've places like that you see, aren't they? They are. Unfortunately, they're struggling.
The chef.
Can you see? Sorry to interrupt there, guys. But can you see more independents opening with the rent and rates being so steep in this country? Like,
I don't know. I mean, if you'd asked me 10 years ago, would I do this again? Probably not. But because of
knowing what you know
now.
Now.
You know, unfortunately, I mean, Southport. We have a main street in Southport, which is Lord Street, and unfortunately, I wouldn't. Because of the rent and the rates, I couldn't do what I'm doing here there. So being in a small village is great. But I don't know.
I think there's always going to be a place for fine dining. Okay, even if it's a bit more casual, there'll always be people who want it. People do want it. Okay, so you go to places like Gavroche and stuff. They're classics. That'll always.
They've got the footfall, though, haven't they? Yeah.
London's got the footfall.
If we put like a really posh sit-down tablecloth restaurant in Southport, would it work? I think you'd be busy at the weekends.
Yeah.
But it's not. It'd be more. Obviously, Warhol. That's different level. That's fine dining, 2 Michelin star. That must be busy, and it's in the middle of really nowhere. To be honest, Ormskirk. It's a
destination restaurant. It's very, very, very good.
And they've took a long time to get it there as well, haven't they? In some ways.
Well, they have and they haven't. I think they've only been there 3 or 4 years. He's the guy, Marc, who runs the restaurant there. He's a phenomenal chef, and it's amazed me to see how quickly they've gone from being nothing to 2 Michelin star to being one of the best restaurants in the world, never mind the country. Wow. So. You know, it's great. It's great to see it's on our doorstep, and but again, I think like Jack just said, I think you were talking about independence. I think the thing is, I think it's great that people are having a go, and you know, like people like to go and eat out to somewhere that's chef owned or a small chain, not small chain, but people who are locally based business. Or I think independents are always going to be supported.
I think more than anything, I think, Jacques hit the nail on the head earlier, though, didn't you? When we were setting up, you were saying that out-of-home food now is just at a record high. You said, you were looking outside earlier and saying the cost of coffee is always buzzing.
That's it. No, it's true. So even in Birkdale, cost of coffee is the busiest place in Birkdale.
Yeah.
And it is a chain, yeah. But and I say that about Pessimondre, places like that hit the nail on the head. But that's food to go, and I think people will pay food to go. And that's a big growing industry.
Yeah, people nowadays, especially if they're on lunch break, especially we're only a small town, so it's a totally different thing than a city.
It's fair to say that eating out, whether it's takeaway or sit down, just isn't a treat anymore.
No,
so easy.
It's
cheaper sometimes.
Sometimes it's
cheaper. Yeah.
If you're cooking at home for one, by the time you switch the oven on and everything, you're better off eating out. I can imagine sometimes. So I think that, and also people work hard. Nowadays, both couples mostly work in the relationship. So it's not like years ago. Let's say, my parents both worked anyway, but still, I think that it's not like probably say the 50s where the man went out to work and the woman stayed home and she cooked his tea and. Yeah, it's just not like that anymore. So back then, you can imagine how snacking wasn't the thing. Nowadays, British never used to snack. Now they always snack. So I think I think Britain has changed. We probably have become, and I know this sounds strange, we probably have become more European. Brexit aside, we probably have become.
We have, We
eat out more and we drink out more.
Yeah, well, what's probably the busiest chain in the UK is probably Wetherspoons, isn't it?
Mm? Yeah.
That. When do you ever see a quiet Wetherspoons? Because
you don't see
at 9 o'clock in the morning, that place has got people
in there. Already,
Confession, I've never been in one, but
have you not?
I'm taking your word for it.
I'll be honest with you. The first one I ever went to was a few weeks ago. We went to Liverpool on a day out, on a lads and dads day out, and I was amazed.
People want value for money.
You can just sit there and order your food on an app.
Oh, really?
At the table and your drinks, and it's so that's
and it's cheap. People want value for money. That's again when we talk about value for money. People go to Wetherspoons because you can get a pint and a curry for like £6 on like a special night.
Yeah. I suppose value for money works at every level, though, doesn't it?
Yeah, so, it's like our level here. We know we're not expensive. I don't think.
No.
There is dishes on there which are expensive, but that's because the produce is expensive. It's not. I don't think we try and have things on the menu that people can relate to, but also things that are chefified.
Yeah.
So then you've got a bit of. If you come in here, you can go, oh, well.
But it still represents good value.
But it needs to be good value.
If it's steak or duck or whatever, it is still, a good portion, good value, and people walk away and say, I really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
So is there something on your menu that you've just had to keep on over the years, would you say?
I'll be honest with you, there's a few dishes that I do keep on all the time, purely because I want to still have the relationship with my roots, if you like. So there's always frog's legs, there's always snails on there. I always have apple tart, French apple tart. I always have mussels on. Mussels are always on. Obviously, we have a couple of steaks on there, but we always have all the different cuts of meat. We try and utilise the lamb, beef, pork. So there's always like 7 or 8 main courses, 7 or 8 starters. I always try and have soup de poisson on, which is another classic French with the fish soup with the Gruyere cheese and melted on the top, and your croutons and your roué, which is a classic French. So things like that, profiteroles, they're always on.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, we just do them a little bit different.
I bet you can make those with your eyes closed now.
Yeah, sure. But it's. We do try and keep it as classical as we can, but also then we throw in a curry or we throw in some Asian dish, or whichever way, So that gives people who come in regularly. So we get people coming once every week. So it's they can come in here and on a Wednesday one week, come in on a Tuesday next week, and it's just there's different variety. So it is good for us because we don't get bored as chefs. Then we're always doing different things.
I suppose I could imagine it would get pretty monotonous if you just did 11 dishes every day and nothing changed.
Oh yeah, it does amazing how Italian restaurants just pizza pasta all day. Just As a chef, it doesn't. You gotta get excited about it, don't you?
So one thing I'm probably an expert on not that I'm good at it, is working in a family business. And we touched on this earlier. We all sort of laughed casually about it. So I'm going to start with Jacques.
Start with me, right?
Great,
Okay.
thanks.
No, I enjoy it.
I'm going to throw Jacques under the bus.
Yeah.
So tell us, mate, what would you say it's like? What was the learning curve like? What have you learned over the years in working in a family business?
I think luckily with me and my dad, I think I've always had that respect for him. Even when I was younger, I've always respected for what he's done and his knowledge, and so I've always So it's not a case of we never really argue in the kitchen. Very very rarely. We might have a words like here and there, but over the past 3 years, probably can't count on. We've never had an argument, like proper argument. So. And luckily for him, I think it's the same with him. I think he respects me, and I think when I first came back to
very much.
When I first came back to working back for him, we sat down together and we were like, right, if we're gonna do this, we need to. If you got something to say, not in an aggressive way, but if you've got your point to get across, don't do it in front of us all. We'll just go outside and just talk like adults.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when I came back, I was 20 years old or 21. At that age, you sort of, if you get wound up, you'll say something. But he's like, let's just do this professionally and just see how it goes. So, and then 3 years later, nearly 4.
Yeah.
We've yet to have a massive argument.
No, we're doing all right.
Yeah.
Do you think though, Mark, that's probably down to the fact that you probably set out your expectations early on, and also you weren't forced into the business,
not at all,
Jacques,
no.
which meant that you both came in you met in the middle somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. I think the thing is that because I've been watching his career and everything Jack's done before being here, he's done it on his own back. Everything.
Yeah.
I never pushed him into anything. I let him do his own thing, because not let him do his own thing. I wanted him to just
find his own way,
and he did. I didn't even need to tell him, in respect of places he wanted to go and work. He wanted to go and work at the Trumpet, and I think that was a great move from where he went from the Chester Grosvenor. It showed him how hard a kitchen can be, because I know myself working in Michelin star restaurants. It's proper hard work, graft, and you're thrown in the deep end, and I think he was thrown in the deep end at the Trumpet. So when he did come back, we sat down and I knew what his capabilities were, but we're always learning. He's always learning. I'm always learning. We're not
we thrive off each other.
We're not the finish out. The restaurant's never going to be the finish article because you're doing something different every day. So, but he's got a great way about him. He's got a great way in the kitchen.
That's what I like as well. I like the fact that, luckily, I don't know, people have this with their own parents. Like when you share a passion with your dad, it's great. You know what I mean? Like I think it's so enjoyable having that shared interest, and we could sit down and talk about food all day, which is great, because I know some of my mates who struggle to have that same relationship with their father because they're not the same person, they haven't got the same interest. So having the same passion and interest as your dad, I think it's brilliant. I think you probably found the same with yours.
Yeah, I did with my dad, and I'm lucky to find it with Jack as well. So my dad was exactly the same. We'd talk about stuff, and even food. I was always food related. I mean, my dad loved food. We just both love doing different things and coming up with ideas, and and I think that's great. Unfortunately, fortunately, the other two boys aren't really interested in food, so I've got to be dad for them, and understand what they want to do, So, and that he won't be involved in catering. One of them may be, one of them definitely won't be. My middle lad, Charlie, he's still finding his feet what he wants to do, but he's a great front of house kind of guy, and hopefully he'll find his way doing something along those lines with us. Hopefully, but you just don't know. Dad might turn around to me in a month's time and say, "Dad, I'm going to move to Timbuktu and see you later," and that's the way it's going to have to be. But I'm enjoying my career more now than I was probably 10 years ago when I was working for someone, because I'm working with my family.
Yeah,
we're all got the same goal. Jack's great to have around all the time, and I do leave him now and again to run the place. So I just come in the mornings, give him a hand setting up and everything else, and then I'll shoot off doing other things, and he's here running the place, which is it's great.
What would you say is like one of the biggest things? Well, we've got a few things here, but one of the different things from when you started, and we sort of touched on allergens, didn't we? And when you first started here, or even when you first started chefing, would you say it was a big deal?
Oh, I mean, any chef of my age, I'm sure, will tell you exactly the same. I mean, when we all started out, you would never hear of allergens, you'd never hear of any of that. It would you just cook and that was it.
Do you think that's because those customers stayed home, or is it because it's more prevalent now?
It's more prevalent, obviously. I mean, I've got. I was talking to somebody the other day, and he was saying, I've just been for an allergy test. He says, I can't. So he'd been for an allergy test, and he just said, I'm allergic to cheese. I'm allergic to this. I'm allergic to that. I know. So he says, so what are we going to do about it? He said, well, I'll just have to be careful now, more careful than I was before. But the gluten thing I told you, the gluten free.
You can't accidentally eat cheese though, can you?
No, not really. He said, I'll have to be careful. I said, what do you mean by careful? I'll just cut down, he said. So again, we talked about it earlier, yeah. It's a massive thing now in our line of work. We have to be on top of it all the time. The most important thing is we have around the restaurant, we have boards saying about the food allergies. It's on the bottom of the menu. When we take the order now, we make sure the waiter asks when they've taken the order to ask them again, is there any food allergies or intolerances, and we go from there. And we've got to be ready for it in the kitchen. So I think we try and do a lot of our food now in the kitchen is all, not all, obviously pastries I struggle with, but a lot of the dishes are gluten free, so I can all be adapted to be gluten free. Regards of dairy, obviously I still use a lot of butter, I use a lot of cream, but again we have separate pans for stuff like that now. We always keep a brand new pan if someone's coming in who's got an allergy to butter, or we say we'll make sure it's all cooked in its.
How do you balance the allergy and the traditional recipe?
Well, for an example, so there's a product called Ultratex.
Yeah.
So it's a thickener.
Yeah,
so years
starch,
ago,
yeah.
it's a starch. Yeah. So years ago, I don't think is it a starch?
Well, yeah, it's a starch. It's like a. Imagine we can adapt any sauce to
I think Ultratex is a waxy maize starch.
That's what it is,
Yeah.
So years ago, you'd thicken sauces with flour.
Yeah.
Now you thicken it.
You make a roux
or Burman, or stuff like that.
Yeah.
We used Ultratex, so that is a massive. So we'll make a bechamel now. It's just a case of.
So it's still traditional.
Yeah,
nobody recognises it.
You wouldn't know any different.
No, not at all. I think the thing is you've got to adapt as a. I look back when I first opened here. I'd make a big pan of roux because I wanted to really go old school.
Yeah.
Where even when I was at my last restaurant, I probably didn't make roux, but because when I came here, I thought, well, we're going back to basics. Let's do it everything like it should be done, like I was taught when I was 16. But then you realise you've got to move with the times. I didn't even want to have a website when I first opened.
Yeah.
But you've got to move.
I suppose in some ways though, you've absorbed extra costs and processes in order to serve everyone, if that makes sense. Whereas before, to serve everyone, you were just doing one thing. Whereas now, you're still doing one thing, but that Ultratex, for argument's sake, will be costing more than flour.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
Listen, we could use corn flour. We could use corn flour, but because it's an easy. Ultratex is a very. It's a new product. I'm not saying it's new at all, but it's a product that you can just sprinkle a little bit into a sauce, and it'll thicken it instantaneously.
Yeah.
And then you've already got the consistency. So when you're serving, say a Roquefort sauce, for example, we just make a very quick Roquefort sauce, melt the cheese, bang the touch of cream, white wine, all that, and then just warm it up and then thicken with a tiny bit of that. It's just an ease, and it's also straight away gluten free. Yeah. Gluten free batter, like you do gluten free batter. We started doing that now as well. So
which you found is pretty awesome.
Thanks, mate. I think more so it's just trying to think of like how as a restaurant you really you stepped up to the plate. You are thinking about how you can serve everyone without.
Well, vegetarian menus and vegans now.
Yeah, that's the next. I suppose the next big thing is.
Yeah, I mean, I was in London last week and I was looking at menus around there. There's quite 3 or 4 starters and 3 or 4 mains on a lot of. Say the menus are 10 starters, 10 mains. 2 or 3 now are vegan, and I'm thinking, you've got to start offering it and being a bit more inventive. My problem with me, I'm old school. If I'm going to do a vegetarian menu, I'm not using my.
You don't feel like you're being creative enough.
I'm not
maybe.
being creative enough.
Yeah.
I feel, but when Jack does and goes, "Well, we do this and we'll do
The
it."
thing is, I say luckily, our clientele, I find that people my age now, I'm 23, people my age now are more interested in being vegetarian and vegan. The older people, they're like your age. There's how many of your mates would be vegetarians, Dad?
I don't think.
You know, he's just lumped you into the older people.
Old people,
category.
yeah, I know. But so it's my age group. Our clientele at the restaurant isn't 20-year-olds.
No.
It's our clientele at the restaurant here is between 30 and older. So, and that clientele.
But we do.
We are starting.
I think we could touch on that. It's like anything. We've got to evolve. We've got to keep evolving.
I think people want to be more flexitarian now, don't they? They want to have days when they eat more veg or vegan,
Exactly.
and a bit of meat or less meat over, So, but I think that in one way, I suppose, with allergens, how do I phrase this? So, with vegan, no one's doing it and then saying, "Oh, I'm going to have a meaty dessert," for argument's sake. Whereas with allergens, you mentioned earlier that someone will say, "Oh, I'm allergic to peanuts and I'm allergic to this," and then they have it in their dessert.
Yes.
Yeah, that was the story. So we got the way it come in with the order, taking off the customer. It comes in, she doesn't eat dairy and she's gluten intolerant. It's like, right, okay, yeah, that's fine. So you go out your way in the kitchen, make sure you do everything correctly. You use the pans correct. You don't put any butter. You make sure everything's correct. And it comes. I mean, it came to the dessert, and she's like, "Oh yeah, I'll have an apple tart with a butterscotch sauce and vanilla ice cream." And the waiter's like, "Well, unfortunately, it's got gluten and dairy." She goes, "Oh, that's all right. I'm all right with a little bit of it." So it's things like that. It's like you've got to respect people with these allergens. You do, you really do. But then you get
the likes of people like
that who are just doing it because it's a fad,
or because she's on a diet.
She's on a diet,
or for whatever reason.
I totally understand that. I mean, I try and, I'm 50 and I'm trying to lose weight like everyone, and you try and keep off the carbs all week or something. So when you go into a restaurant, you try and pick around it and say, can I just have that without that and just a plate of veg, please? But I'm not intolerant. I just I'm trying to be good.
But you weren't claiming to be. I think that's the difference.
This woman was claiming. This is it's quite disrespectful for what she actually did, really. Because people who have these intolerances, they don't want them. They don't. It's not a fad for them. It's their lifestyle. They need it. They can't have gluten or they can't have dairy. And it's not their fault. And then people who are saying, "Oh, I can have a little bit," it's a bit disrespectful, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, the problem is, I think if people like that are crying wolf, then you won't take it seriously. Well, the risk is that maybe you won't take it seriously.
Yeah, but we do.
I know that, but I think everyone's human, and if people take liberties like that all the time, sooner or later someone's going to be like, you know what? Why do I bother? And then they might make a mistake, and I think that's where the problem is here. So do you see yourself maybe moving towards adding more vegan-y, vegetarian options?
We have a separate menu. So when people sit down, I'm a vegetarian or a vegan. Here's another menu.
And is it wildly different to your normal menu, or does it all just sort of?
Not massively, but it's just things we've got in the kitchen all the time. Like we do a mushroom stroganoff.
Yeah,
it's stuff like that.
I mean,
vegetarian curries.
That's what I'm saying. I need to be a little bit more inventive, and I think we could actually incorporate a couple of dishes onto the actual main menu, and I think that, but then I've taken it off something else. So I don't want to have a menu.
Well, I remember I first came back. I'm like, Dad, we need to put a vegetarian dish on the main menu, because we never did vegetarian or vegan actual menu for them separately. We used to just tell them what we had. So I came back, I was like, Dad, we need to even it's like a vegetarian pasta, like a pesto, so something along them lines.
You can get vegetarian pasta as well.
But we'd put it on the main menu, and then you cook it, you prep for it, and then it doesn't sell, and then you're gonna have to bin it at the end of the day. So it's hard.
It's almost like if it was a pasta thing, for argument's sake, you almost just, the only difference is that you haven't got meat on it. I suppose in some way.
It's funny because I remember I think I tweeted out or Instagrammed out the vegetarian menu out a few weeks ago, and I can count on one hand how many vegetarians were sold in the past 3 weeks.
Yeah, this is what I'm trying to say.
Our
clientele aren't vegetarian. It's hard. It's not. But if you went in London or in a city where there's a lot of younger people, I bet they're selling loads of vegetarians, vegan stuff, and
city-based,
students,
younger work-based.
They're the ones that are eating it, and it's cheaper as well for students. It's a cheaper option, I think, vegetarian, because obviously there's no meat or fish, which is the expensive bit. So So, but people, I know people who or a vegetarian in the week, and then when they do want to treat themselves, they don't mind paying out. And
having
Although the steak
Because like you were saying before,
come here, have a steak.
even though they're eating breakfast, So like you were saying before, people are just trying to ease off it, but they want to treat themselves when they come somewhere like this.
I was going to say, like, once you're out, you're out. Like,
Yeah.
So another thing that what's probably changed, well, not just in your dad's time, but probably both of our time to some degree, is the Instagram movement. Like, you just see a lot of sort of, since your early days, both your early days, everything seems to be about the Instagram, social media.
Oh, very much so. I mean,
Time,
it's amazing. We can sometimes Instagram a dish, and then people the next day will be coming in for it and saying, "We saw that on Instagram, fancied it," and that's why we're here. That's why we've come in. Which is good. Which is great.
So it's good, but is it also risky if it doesn't look the same, like the whole McDonald's burger effect? Maybe nothing's going to look as sweaty as that, obviously.
Well, obviously the dishes that we put on Instagram, aren't they? I mean, we take a little bit more care and attention to it than we do in doing all the
One of the world's best photographers, but I get that. I get the Instagram movement. I totally understand it because the amount of people who even people my age, they go onto it, they see it. If they're following you, it comes up, and we
need to do it more, don't we?
We need to do it more, but we do quite a bit, I think. Probably more.
Not compared to a lot of
That's
places.
the age difference at play here, isn't it?
It probably is. Absolutely.
I think Instagram's one of those things where, because it works to your creativity, doesn't it? You've made a dish, it looks nice, I want to show people, and it works. As opposed to Twitter, let's say, which is a bit more text-based.
Yeah.
I know you can put photos, but I think Instagram, it's all about the photo.
Last time we put a picture up,
it's instant, isn't it?
24th of January, so that's a month to today's recording.
That's very recent for your dad, you got to remember.
Yeah, that's not bad. It's not bad. What was it, that milfoy of
the
rhubarb
and ginger milfoy?
He remembers what it was because it feels like yesterday for him.
Yeah. Well, the rhubarb's still in season at the moment, so it was the right thing to do.
So how do you deal with, we were saying earlier how, these days you get bloggers and influencers and they're like, I want to come and eat at your restaurant for free and we'll give you a review and stuff like that. Is that a thing?
Not in Southport.
We've not had. No. I think we've had. I had one. Somebody messaged me on either Twitter or Instagram once. I just ignored it basically.
You don't play to it.
No. I think the thing is, in a restaurant like this size and where we are in this town, people who are coming into the town, they might look on TripAdvisor, they might look on one of the guides and see us in the guide. So I'd rather, and then the people who do come and eat here, hopefully, touch wood, will leave here happy and tell 5 of their friends, Yeah. So that's that.
So you're working to the traditional model in some ways, aren't you?
Probably.
Yeah.
I mean, luckily, I've never had to touch wood again. We've not had to advertise since we've been open. We've been open.
So social media and that sort of thing for you guys is more of a bonus, a bolt-on, an add-on.
Yeah, it is.
But actually, it's all about treating people great here today, great value.
Because you said, it's our 75% of returning customers.
Yeah. We work out. I mean, we get a lot in the summertime. There's a lot. It's the Gulf Coast here, so we get a lot of hotels that recommend us to golfers. So they'll come here, which is great. And we have golfing parties from all over the world coming to the restaurant in the summertime. Again in the midweek, so it helps the business.
So we were talking earlier a little bit about TripAdvisor, weren't we? And you were saying that for you guys, TripAdvisor probably only matters for people that aren't from the area.
Yes.
So give us an example of the double-edged sword that is TripAdvisor.
Go on, do you want this one, Dad? Well, in Southport, there's on restaurants in Southport, there's 248 eateries in Southport. So that's a lot of competition for a small little town.
It is, and there's some very good restaurants in Southport, very good restaurants. And, some might be 18, 19. I think most people who are looking at restaurants on TripAdvisor, if they're coming into the town, they're looking the first 1 to 5 or 1 to 8 or 1 to whatever. So them restaurants will get a lot of the outside people in. When it does become a pain is when you do get a bad review. And I'm sure I'm not the only restaurateur who grinds his teeth, wants to ring them up, wants to speak to the customer. Why couldn't they ring up the restaurant? Why couldn't they just speak to us? If there's an issue, that's what I don't like about TripAdvisor, is that they can write something beautiful and then they write something which might not even... I had a customer who rang up the restaurant, spoke to the guy on the reception. Hello, just a quick one. Are you open this evening? Yes, we are, sir. Okay, thank you. Bye. Phone down. Walked in the restaurant at 5:30. Same person. Table for 4, please. Sorry, sir. We haven't got it. We're full up. It was a Saturday night, so all the tables have been taken early on. Well, I rang up before and he said, "You're open tonight." Yes, we are, sir. Did you not book a table? Well, no, because I just turned up. So he turned up with his family, or I think it was his mother's birthday, to be honest with you.
Oh my God.
Walked out the door in a huff, and then 2 hours later, or 3 hours later, I can't remember. It was maybe the next morning. It was on TripAdvisor. One out of 5. About his experience, and by the way he was treated. Luckily, I found out who he was, and I gave him a call. And he actually was a Southport business owner, wasn't in the same job as us, but I said, how could you put that out there? What happened? Well, I rang the restaurant to see if you're open. I said, well, did you book a table? No, I didn't. I said, well, you can't just turn up on a Saturday night at 5:30 in any restaurant in the town or any to try and get a table unless you've actually booked a table. Oh, yeah, you're right, yeah. I was a bit wound up when I got home and I thought I'd put... I said, well, do you know how damaging that is to any business, never mind a restaurant? But that's the thing about TripAdvisor, you can do that. Luckily, I got hold of him and he removed it or whatever, but, that...
I think we were talking about this earlier, weren't we? Like how, the difference between, let's say, a Michelin review or a TripAdvisor review, for argument's sake.
Yeah.
The difference is that Michelin have set standards. We don't know what they are, but they have set standards.
Yeah.
TripAdvisor review just means that the guy could have been in a really bad mood.
Yeah.
Annoyed with himself.
Yeah.
Could be happy, could be going through a divorce. Everything matters on how they feel. And that's the difference.
Well,
it's all
opinion, isn't it?
and it's their personal opinion. It's not factual, it's just how they felt. And this guy decided to blame your dad or the business for his mistake.
Yeah. Well, I remember there's another one. We got a review on. It was, I think, last year or a couple of years ago. She left this review on, and basically there was foie gras on the menu, and she didn't agree with the reason why foie gras. Yeah, cool. Yeah. So that was it. Absolutely slated us, and it was like, well, how can you? Do you remember that?
Yeah,
did she eat in the end, or did she just walk out?
No, she came. It was when we first opened, actually.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah.
And again, it was on the board. Seared foie gras with I can't remember what the dish was. But it was on the actual board, and she stood in the doorway, and she was about to come and be seated, and just looked up, saw the menu, read that, and then just said to Michaela, "I'm not dining here," and that was it. Off she went. I kind of understand the foie gras situation, but now there is an ethical way that they are.
Yeah.
And we don't have it on the menu anymore. I have been offered it but we now and again, if a customer asks for it, and I say to Michaela all the time, or if the customer wants something, I'll get it in. I have no issue with that. It's a funny one, the foie gras scenario, because in France it's the same, and I think it was in America they banned it. Now they've not banned it, and so I don't really want to get into it because I don't really know enough about it.
I think it's interesting from an animal welfare point of view, because I did a podcast with a butcher, and he was saying that they probably will end up banning halal meat. The way they slaughter halal animals.
Oh, really?
So basically, they don't stun them; they just cut the throat and let them hang, and it's a really long, drawn-out way of dying.
Yeah.
So it would be very similar. The argument would be the same if they was to, because you're force feeding an animal. Have you seen how they do it?
Yeah, it's pretty gross.
Yeah.
But it does taste nice. So.
No, it does. But it's just funneling an animal. It's just crazy.
Well, I worked in the Dordogne area of France, and that's we used to have foie gras festival or duck festivals every, I think it's October, and you go into these halls. And they have all the producers have the ducks up all in a row, and they basically slit the belly, and you can see the foie gras just sat there in the belly.
Oh wow!
It's amazing to see, and obviously I'm a foodie, so I love all that. But I kind of,
that is going to be one of those things where we look back on it in a few years' time.
It's a tradition they've been doing in France since.
Whoever come up with that tradition though?
I don't know.
It makes you wonder how the person landed on it, doesn't it? Like, oh, you know what? What if we fatten it up? Like, but I think ultimately, we will probably look back on certain things and think, wow, we did that. And I think that I wonder if that'll be one of them. But it will be enjoyed. I think in Cyprus, they eat a lot of songbirds.
Really?
Yeah, and that's a big fine. And the European Union put a huge fine on it. I can't remember what it is, but it's ridiculous. If you get caught putting these, so basically they put these sticks out. We've got like a glue type thing on it, and it's made from natural. It's essentially made from sugar. Then they play this songbird music that makes other birds think that they're there. So then they go onto this tree, what they think is a branch, and it's not. It's like a sticky stick. Then they die slowly, basically, and then people eat it. I don't like them. I've never liked them. I find that they're just teeny little birds. It's basically bony and fatty, and that's it. Like for me, there's nothing nice about it at all. But the minute the European Union said, it is a violation, animal rights violation, the price of them went up. So 12 of these little birds are like 100, 200 euros.
Really?
Yeah. Like before that, they were probably like 24 quid, 25 quid. And now they're like hundreds. Like just because they're banned. Like anything. But
That's like the black market, isn't it?
Yeah, massively. But to me, they're not a nice product anyway.
So what we are. But like you say, it's a lot to do with tradition, isn't it? I mean, obviously,
it's different when they needed to eat back then. Like back then, it wasn't a luxury. Back then, it was eating. Like we needed to live. Like so, I can imagine. Like I don't know if that was ever the case before. I don't know.
But you could go on this all day. You've got like in China, they eat dogs, they eat cats, and so it's I think. The Fargo scenario, I do understand it, and
there's nothing wrong with that. But at least she didn't leave here screaming and leaving you negative reviews and all of that.
Well, she did on Facebook. That's where I was getting at. That's where I was getting at. She flated on TripAdvisor could be served it. Didn't even dine here.
But it's you actually it's one of those things. That I think anyone who's reviewing a restaurant, it's not like we're not working at Tesco, or we wouldn't go home and start writing a review about Tesco, this customer service.
People review everything.
People do too.
Do they?
Yes.
Oh well, that's how old school I am.
No, honestly, I parked in Birmingham once, and I was just looking for the address, the postcode, and I popped in. I think it was a car park off Livery Street in Birmingham. Someone reviewed the car park.
Really?
Yeah.
Some people got way too much time.
Yeah, honestly, and they were saying like, car park staircase smells of piss. And I was like, don't they all? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'd be worried if they didn't. Like, but no, people will review anything now.
Right, okay.
And the worst thing about it is they don't even get points for it. There's no points, or I don't know. They're not getting a prize. It's just.
Just reviewing.
They're just reviewing it. We spoke about this earlier.
Yeah,
we said the phone's good, everything, didn't we?
Yeah.
But no, I think. So going back to TripAdvisor for a moment, though, I've always thought a good suggestion would be that people would have to put a photo of a receipt to say that they've been. Like, do you ever see that as being good? Because they can still be malicious, no doubt, but they can't not eat here and review you negatively.
I was telling you before, where people actually get paid to put reviews on, don't they?
Yeah.
Which is restaurants will pay people to put reviews on, which is it's hard. But no, I think receipt could be a good idea, or pictures of the food maybe, or
yeah.
But anything, I don't know.
It has its negativity, it has its positivity. And
but
I
you
think
guys were saying that from a positive point of view is that if you do well on TripAdvisor, people from outside the area will come in.
That's the reason why.
I think when I go abroad, if I'm going to a hotel, say in Spain or whatever, and I'm not staying in the hotel for food, and I'll go there, I'll click at where I am, go on TripAdvisor, you'll find 3 or 4 restaurants or 5 restaurants from 1 to 10 that you'll probably pick one of those. And
have you found them quite accurate when you've done that? Like, so if we're honest, like, have you found that when you have looked at those restaurants and then dined there, would you say afterwards? Well, I don't know if you've ever thought about it.
Probably, yeah.
All right.
The best way is always to ask a local, isn't it?
Yeah.
So local, you just try.
Local,
And I think
the best advice.
I always find they're quite spot on with it all.
Yeah.
But then I look at restaurants in this town and I think, well, that shouldn't be there. That should be way up top. It should be much better. It's a much better restaurant than it's got given 15th out of 240. It should be number 3 or something.
Yeah.
But it's just the way it goes. The way the whole system goes.
You were saying earlier, Jack, though, that although you do care, although you don't care about TripAdvisor, you do care.
You do.
Just set you
We
off
all
in a
look
bad
at it.
mood. Yeah.
We all look at it.
Oh yeah, if we get a bad review, that's it. Chef's in the mood for the whole day.
No, I'm not.
He'll wind you up.
10 minutes. It just depends what it says.
I suppose, would you say you're half and half? So you'd be a bit like F 'em, like stuff 'em, and then you'd probably a bit more like because you're probably more tied to social media a bit more, whereas you're not, surely. Like,
yeah, I think.
Or do you take it personal? Do you see it?
Sometimes I think anyone who gets a bad review takes it personally. Unless you've had loads of them and then it's just another one. You know what I mean? Because we don't get many bad reviews. That's probably why it's a bit more personal.
We don't. But I think that you, as long as you're doing what you think you're doing right, and hopefully people are coming in and going out and using you. But I think when they sit down and they write an essay about and then pick every single thing that happened the whole night in the restaurant, I just think, what are you doing?
So in some ways, people, and those sort of people anyway, are coming out for this experience, this grand experience, and you didn't live up to it.
Well, exactly, and I think this is where like I was just getting back to us being a bistro and the size and everything else. People might say, oh, Bistrot Vérité, it's lovely, the food's great, nice, it's a little restaurant, and they'll come here and they'll expect us to be more than what we are.
Yeah.
I'm not saying the food.
But you're a bistro. That's the point.
But we are bistro. We are what we are.
That comes with its limitations.
Yeah, but then people's perceptions sometimes would think it would be more grander.
Do you think that's because over the years, like the naming of places, or is it just people's expectation? They don't know about what restaurants are. But a bistro in France is exactly what this is. Yeah. It's a small local restaurant.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I wonder if people then think, well, why isn't it better? Because it's not a fine dining restaurant. It's not white gloves. We mentioned this earlier, isn't it? So I think that it's setting people's expectations. Yes, it is a bit cramped. Yes, it's not as cramped as it is in France, because a bistro in France, like you said, you have to pull the table out for someone to sit on the other side.
Sit down, exactly. Yeah.
So I think that it's just, again, for people to understand what a restaurant is and what its function is.
Well, we luckily we just got voted in like the top 17 restaurants in Merseyside, and I look at some of the restaurants in there, and the restaurants on there, like you've got the Art School. Good restaurants like that. The Art School, and that's all. That is posh. That is white tables, and like waiters wearing gloves. And then you've got us, and we're not like that at all.
And I think that's the beauty of it. I think food, like Celeste was just saying, it's having that diversity. If you want to go and have a candlelit dinner in Liverpool, you go, and you want it to be a special occasion, you go to the Art School or Panoramic, which is beautiful scenery overlooking the river, and it's whereas to me we're a good little local restaurant which serves good food. I hope.
My mum and dad went to San Carlo the other day. Have you ever been to San Carlo?
Yeah, there's one in Liverpool and Manchester.
Yeah, that's it. And they went to one in Leicester, and my dad was, I hated it. It was really poncy. It was like this fillet steak on a huge plate. And I was like, that's what it is, though.
That's what it is.
Like, I don't
get all the celebrities in there.
Yeah, exactly. And for me, like, I don't see that as a complaint. I see that you're the wrong customer for that restaurant. Yeah. And, because I said to him, why don't you just go Miller and Carter where you can have yourself a nice fat steak with some chips and some salad, because that's where he'd enjoy himself. I know he's getting his steak, he's happy, and
he's charging over the odds. He's paying over the odds for something.
Yeah, and he said that. He goes, if it was good, he wouldn't have had a problem at all. He would have paid £100 more for everyone. And I was like, but that's the point. You're the wrong customer in the wrong place. And I wonder if it's just, you can't change the restaurant. You've got to just vote with your feet and go to where you enjoy it. And I think, I think this is sort of the problem that, if we use the vegan analogy, for example, a vegan might come here and let's say you didn't have a lot of options for them, they would be upset. Mm-hmm. But surely you could have just gone to a nice vegan restaurant which would have had everything you wanted, and you could have gave them 5 stars. And I don't know,
But to be fair, I've had conversations with people in the past that, where do you work? Bistrot Vérité. Without me, and they're like, I really like the food in there, but the restaurant's just too small and it's too loud, so that's why I don't really eat there. Which is fair enough, you know what I mean? I love the food. People do say that, which is nothing wrong with that.
But you have to accept that.
Exactly. And,
there's nothing we can do about it.
Sometimes, we'd love a bigger bar. We could do more cocktails. We could do this, that, and the other, but it's not feasible. We can't do it. And
you've got to work to your strengths. Yeah. And you can't change that, can you? No.
And it's like I've been here 10 years, or just over 10 years, and I'm always thinking, well, maybe we should have gone bigger. And then people say, why haven't you gone next door? Why haven't you bought why have you done this? Why have you done that? Well, hang on. I want a quality of life, and we're lucky that we run a restaurant that's open 5 days a week. I have a weekend off. We have a Sunday and Monday. We have a weekend, and gives all the staff the same time off. We're all the same team in again, and we all know what we're doing. And I think it's great.
The minute you start going the other way, not to knock people that do this, it's a different business, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, you know, you're now working 7 days a week. You've now got 100 covers. Not how many is it now? 40-ish, is it?
45. Yeah.
So you know, it becomes a different animal. You need different shifts and
more staff,
different staff.
more
And
don't get me wrong. If business wasn't
of
okay,
course.
we'll be open Sunday.
Of course.
We've been open Monday, but because we've from day one, that was our right. We're going to, because the boys were young when we first opened, me and Michaela. So at least we knew we had a weekend together with them.
Yeah.
On the Sunday, we spent time and did things, because you know it's trying to get that balance right. And I think in our job, it's, you know, I'm sure any chef who's opened a restaurant, you know, he must say the same thing as me. You know, if you've got family, you know, you've got to try and spend time, and you've got to. It's what's it all about at the end of the day.
It's
You know, it's all about. And I know I come in on a Tuesday and I'll work till Saturday, but I know then I've got 2 days.
Yeah.
I can spend time.
Where the staff don't come in or whatever, you've got 2 days off guaranteed.
Exactly.
Yeah. So talking about things that have maybe changed over the years, and again, you two might have different opinions here slightly, or at least they've probably evolved over the years. But is it hard, you know, sort of motivating staff, keeping staff? You can't be a shouty chef like you used to be. Well, I'm sure you probably can if you want to be. You're the boss. You can do what you want. But what sort of evolved over the years in that respect, managing staff, keeping
Well, I'll just quickly tell you what I think. I was a shouty chef, so I know that, because that was the way. And I don't mean a big time shouty chef. When someone did something wrong, I'd go.
You get shouty.
You get a little bit shouty. But again, I was, you know, every chef is shouty, but there is ways and means now, and you've got to be a little bit more calmer. And I think you get a lot more out of people if you're nicer. And hopefully, as I'm mellowing with age, and I know I'm a totally different beast than I was when I was in my early 20s, if you like. So, and you get more out of people, and people respect you more. So, the way I was shouted at when I was younger, I was scared more. So now, why would I be doing that to any staff now? I think it's important you nurture them, and you bring them on and you show them the way. There's going to be times you're in the middle of service, someone's forgotten to do something on a plate, and you're going to go, what the heck is going on here? You know, you're doing this plate every 2 minutes. You should know what's going on.
Yeah.
And of course, that's heat of service. That's the only time
that sort of stress is always going to exist.
That's always going to exist, I'm sure. But I think that the way you talk to your staff is important. A lot more. Be calm, be mellow, chill out. And then the day, who's down? You're only serving food.
Yeah. And
that's the way that's where I'm at now.
And
having Jack behind me is a lot calmer.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, having Jack behind you now, being the head chef, would you say that's made you more mellow, or just you let him deal with that stuff?
Exactly.
Now, right?
I think that because I've done that, I've let him he deals with it. And he deals it in a much better way than I would have done. But again, it's like anything. I looked at the way my dad was. My dad was. Oh my God! You won't just get a shout. You get a slap.
Oh, I know that.
You know, so my sister will say about that more than I would. But you know, we're in a different world. It's a different world. It's a different world now, and you know, you've got to look after staff. You've got to make sure that they're happy. As long as they're happy, the food goes out better, and the more longevity, they want to stay with you longer, I think, and hopefully that's what we try and do now.
I think the way I'd say it is that my dad had a very hands-on approach. Literally. Yeah, I remember getting booted once in the shop because apparently the portion of chips was a bit big. Like, literally just booted.
Yeah.
But, so Jack, what would you say, like, you know, what sort of things have you learnt to do differently with staff? Like, you know,
probably I remember my last place I worked with Le Trompette, they used to have there's an old school chef, Rob Weston. He was head chef at the Square for like 20 years. He worked for Marc at POI. He was old school, but he was bloody brilliant, like a proper good cook. And he was in the kitchen every day. And then there was a lad who was the head chef. He was like the executive chef, and under him there was a lad called Ollie Pipperpoint. He was like his number 2, his head chef. And what I always found Ollie was a lot more approachable. He was a lot more understanding. He was a lot calmer. Rob would, if he shouted, you'd get at you. You'd get in your face, and Ollie wasn't like that. So I always thought when I was younger, I'd rather be like Ollie because he's more approachable. And that's just the generational thing, I think, nowadays.
Yeah.
If he was getting shouted at by Ollie, you knew you properly messed up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's what I feel like I'm in there now. I'll be fine, and if something does really wind me up, I'll snap, and then they're like, right, then the staff will like, not like in a horrible way, but it's a bit more.
They know they've messed up because
you've lost it now.
Because
you'll be dead mellow all the time.
If you shout it all the time,
you look like,
they kind of get to know it. No.
Yeah, he's in a bad mood. It's Tuesday or whatever.
That's what it used to be like. So, and then you get. I think you get a bit more respected nowadays for that, and I think that's what it is. You can't go. I don't like getting shouted at. So if I don't like getting shouted at, does me the guy on the Sweets guy like getting shouted at? No, they don't. And I always work better when I got spoke to normally, and or got shown. You know what I mean? I've messed up and I've been shouted at, but if they show me, or like, listen, you're not doing this correctly, and just taking the time out of their day to show you things correctly instead of shouting at you, or you forgot to order something and going off the red light. Okay, well, it is what it is. We'll find a solution, or we'll deal with the problem instead. And I think as well, if you are calm and mellow, I know me personally, I can think better. When you've lost it, your head's not in the right mind frame, is it? And I think that's where people. I know I've seen you before. As soon as you've lost it, that's it. The rest of the night,
it's gone.
It's gone, and you can't get a flow back into service because everything. It's just like a domino effect. The first thing messes up.
I feel like a bad guy, but
no, not at all. No,
I understand what you're saying. It's
like a domino effect.
Yeah, it is.
As soon as one thing goes, and if you don't.
You've lost the whole.
Gone, but if you just pull it back together, you keep focus, and something might go wrong, it's fine. You just
of course.
That's what I feel about it.
I know.
What advice would you both give to any keen young chef that wants to get into the industry, would you say?
Well, personally, the same probably that with Jack, just to try and find a good mentor and just work alongside him for a year or 2 years or whatever, and make sure you work in good kitchens and just keep moving forward slowly. I don't think you can. I think a lot of young chefs think it's a race and you can become a head chef at 18, 19, 20. Just slowly. Go and work for some good chefs, learn off them. Soak that knowledge up, what they've got, and once you feel that you've soaked enough of the knowledge up and you've worked hard, and they'll help you for your next move, and then they'll help you for the next move, and then hopefully by the time you're 24, 25 or whichever, you'll have got enough knowledge to be able to become a head chef. And I think that I don't think 25 is too early. I think 25 is about the right age, 24, 25.
You're 26, right?
I was 26.
It all depends on the level of experience you had as well, doesn't it? Yeah.
I mean, he started early. I started probably a bit later than you. You started. You were 16. You were starting.
I've been cooking
in
for
a
10
kitchen.
years.
Yeah. So and I think the knowledge is, but you're always learning every day. You might do something, a different technique of cookery, or that you've seen somewhere, and you think you get excited about it, and you come and say, I do now. Even now, I saw that, Jack. What about this? What about that? And he's like, yeah, Dad, let's do it. Let's have a go, and we'll just do it. And that's the beauty of this place, which I love about here. Is that I can come in one day and change the menu and go, boom, get rid of all of it. Let's start again, and we'll do with this.
Which is great for a young chef to have something.
And I say to anyone who comes to work for us, I say, you don't realise how lucky you are. When I worked in restaurants years ago, you'd have a menu on for 4 or 5 months, and that'd be it, end of.
Wow.
And you'd be in the same food for.
It's that monotonous, isn't it?
Yeah. But as a chef, if you can, it's still got to be consistently right, and I think that it's getting the food correct.
Yeah.
And trying it out, and it's great for some. Like last week, we decided to change. We had a rhubarb milfouille on, which is lovely puff pastry and all that and everything going. We found out we've got a load of egg whites in the freezer, for example. Oh right, well, let's change that. Let's do a pavlova. And you're always thinking, this is where young chefs have got loads of this. Well, what do you want to do with it? Well, and it makes them think and start thinking of, which, like I say, it makes you better, doesn't it?
Yeah, no, of course.
Yeah.
Anything you'd recommend, Jacques, for anyone coming in?
Just saying, really, don't. I know I'm young and I'm head chef now, but I've done the time. Just don't run before you can walk. Cause Don't inspire. I remember sitting down with Marcus Ware, and he was like, "What his bit of advice for me was, he was basically saying, it's like a house. The career is like a house. You got to have a good foundation. So, and that's your basics. That's working as a commie. You go and work at good restaurants and gain as much knowledge as possible. So it's like and it's basically having a good foundation, and then work on top of that, and you just work up and build the bricks. And it made so much more sense and then I don't get inspired by TV chefs. I admire them. I think that a lot. They're good at what they're good. You know what I mean? Like James Martin. That's cool.
Love James Martin.
I do love James Martin, but that's young chefs want to go out and be like James Martin. They need to be in the kitchen and yeah. So that's what I'd say. Just work hard, keep your head down, and just learn from the best. Really, work. Get alongside. I say, look, when I was Simon Bradley was a good mentor for me when I was younger. He was dead calm. He wasn't a shouty chef, and you learn off people like that, don't you? So.
No, of course. So, what chefs or restaurateurs really sort of impress you at the moment? Would you say?
Well, again, because I'm old school, I like the rest. There's a couple of restaurants I like, and it's basically owned by Shea Bruce, the chain Shea Bruce in London. I think they own the Trumpet, the Glass House, and Shea Bruce. I think Matt Christmas's food is fantastic. I just love. It's a food I want to eat. You know, I think, that's everything I see how he puts up on Instagram. It's just like proper cooking. You know, it's proper. It's not been fanning around too much with it. It's just proper. A lot of French inspired dishes that he does. So for me, that group I love. Chefs wise, I love seeing some of the new guys are out there. I can't name them, but there's so many now.
Yeah.
I mean, it's totally different to years ago. You could only pick 5.
Yeah. Now you've got a lot of choice.
Oh, so much choice, and just seeing things on Instagram. You'll pick the picture on Instagram and you'll go, who's that? Who's doing? Where's he at? And where's he cooking? And you go and follow him, and then you'll see the food he's doing, and it might be immaculate on the plate, and then you see other food. There's so much to see, so I can't really name a chef.
That
but
makes sense.
as a chef group, I think what Mark Christmas and Bruce Poole have done there is, I think it's fantastic.
What about you, Jacques? Sort of chefs and resturants?
Chefs that inspire me really. It's probably lads I've worked with in the past who I've seen. I've followed their career as such. So there's lads like Sam. There's a lad called Sam Dean. He's now head chef at Church Road, which is one of Phil Howard's restaurants. Mm-hmm. I used to work with him at Grosvenor, and he went and worked for Shea Bruce, and he went to work at Elsinore Street, and now he's head chef. So lads like that inspire me because I've followed the background, and I know them. And another lad called Craig David. He's at Pascoe House in Devon. Just been given head chef there now. Used to work with him. I've worked with him for a bit. He went to work at Northcote and he's done bits and bobs, and he's just been given 3 rosettes. So
nice.
It's people that I inspire me. People I've worked with around. You know what I mean? Ones that because I've worked with a lot of lads who are now not in the kitchens, or they're just still doing the same old. So lads like that. There's a young lad as well I know called Tom Booton. He's head chef at Dorchester Grill. Yeah. He's flying at the moment. Again, he's a nice lad, and he inspires me more because he's doing it. You know what I mean? They're in the kitchen every day, and I can't turn around. Like Phil Howard, I admire. The chefs I admire, Nathan Outlaw, you admire, but people that inspire you, probably
It's people who are cooking.
Yeah, people. Are cooking.
Yeah. Well,
yeah. So I think that's what
cool.
People inspire me. Yeah, just lads that I know are still in the kitchen and they're working their way up.
To make a name for themselves.
Making a name themselves. So that's what.
That's cool. So, guys, last question. What would your last meal be?
That's easy for me. Mussels and fries.
Mussels and fries.
Bottle of wine. Nice bottle of Chablis outside.
Nice.
Sat in the sun.
Nice.
That's all I need.
Yeah.
Basic.
Some nice bread. Basic.
Sat in the sun, so you'd have to be abroad.
I'll be in sunny Southport, which is a beautiful town.
I like the way you had to throw that in.
I have to throw that one in. Of course I do. It's a great town.
What about you, Jacques? He's changed his last meal about 4 times.
I don't know. It's hard, isn't it? I just love food. Like I was going to say fajitas. I just love a chicken wrap. Really, something basic.
Quite simple.
Something from the kebab
shop.
shop.
Any chef you speak to, I just like something that's just simple and tasty.
Yeah.
I like a steak tartare with fries.
That sounds simple.
Yeah, just something dead simple. Nothing fancy.
That sounds like middle class problems. That one does.
Steak tartare, doesn't it? Like, obviously, I eat it every single week. That's the thing, yeah. That's it.
Well, guys, I just want to say thanks for your time today. It's been great, and so we'll finish it there.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Thank you, and I hope you have a busy week.
Hopefully, we'll see you tomorrow when we open up.
Lots of bookings.
Looking all right, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, guys.
Cheers.
Bye.
Thank you.